Okay, thank you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to spend 5 minutes talking about a topic that I bet nobody in the room has ever considered before. So if nothing else, we'll get that far. So 3D printing in the treatment of rare diseases, can it be relevant? Can it have a place? Can it have a future? That's what we're going to talk about. Now, many people will know a little bit about 3D printing by some of the kind of images that are on the screen. So whether that's in complicated Lego bricks, whether that's in an Invisalign that you might know somebody that's had, or whether you know it's in the foam lining of the trainers that you've just bought or something like that. So 3D printing and additive manufacturing has been around for a while. Not many people realize you can make medicines with it. It's still pretty innovative, still pretty new. I'm going to show you on this next slide how that happens, but really there's lots of detail on it. The only piece you really need to understand, I guess, or take note from this slide is the definition at the top. So what is 3D printing? So 3D printing essentially is an action or a process of making a physical object from a three-dimensional digital model, typically by laying down many thin layers of material in succession. So that is what 3D printing is. That is what additive manufacturing is. There are lots of different ways to do it when you're making medicines, and there are 4 or 5 different companies producing pharmaceutical medicines, pharmaceutical drug products now on the market. The one that we're going to talk about today is the one right on the far side, which is BinderJet 3D print, which allows us to produce commercial scale medicines. So how that looks is essentially you're laying down a really thin layer of powder that contains excipient and active pharmaceutical ingredient. You're smoothing it to about a 100 micron layer thick on a moving plate. That moving plate then transports that powder underneath the static print jet. That is depositing tiny picoliter sized droplets of print fluid, which acts as a binder. And then you're repeating that process 10, 12, 14, 15 times until your required dosage. That is all of the science I'm going to share today. But that's how it works. So if nothing else, when you go home at the dinner table this evening, you can explain how we make 3D medicines, if nothing else. The more interesting question is, why would you do that? And what's that got to do with any therapeutic area, particularly rare disease? One of the key things that a normal tablet goes through as it's being manufactured is it's exposed to direct heat and really tight compression. So if the normal tablets that you take are really compressed hard, which makes them hard, makes them difficult to swallow. As we've just heard, lots of patients, lots of diseases in rare diseases are very difficult for patients to swallow anything, never mind tablets. So you can have amazingly effective medicines in discovery and in development that patients can't take because the capsule or the tablet is too big, they can't swallow them. Because we have no compression in this process, you end up with really porous, lightweight, dissolvable tablets that disperse as soon as you put a sip of water on the tongue. If you take a look at the graphic, if this works on the right-hand side, you'll sort of see how that looks and why it's unique. As soon as the water touches it, it disperses in the mouth, in the tongue, and then all you're swallowing is a tiny sip of water. So that's why I think 3D printing could have a particular role to play in some of the treatments of rare diseases. Second reason, and as we move on, it's a very small piece of equipment as well. So if you think on this stage that I'm stood on, you could probably fit 2 end-to-end production machines. So you could take some API, have it running in this space twice, and produce medicines in their primary packaging and take them out as well. Obviously, rare diseases, orphan diseases, very small volume. You don't need a big factory. You very often don't need to make high volume production lines. You just need small numbers. So to summarize really, and why I think this could have a potential future in rare diseases, I think it's the 3 reasons that are on there. Solving medication swallowing difficulties that are common in rare diseases and making treatments easier for patients to tolerate and swallow. Small batch manufacturing and platform flexibility. And also, as we evolve the science, I think there's also the potential that we can start to create oral medications that can't currently be manufactured as well, where you might need to have an injection or a vial or something that's a little bit more invasive. We can perhaps turn into a dispersible tablet. In the future, to wrap up, there are many different ways that I think this could go in future years. We've got one commercial product on the market now, where I think eventually we could get into personalized medicine, where I might need 120 milligrams of a treatment, you might need 80, somebody else might need 110, and we can make them all in that way. Early in the stage of adoption, but that's where we are with 3D printing. So at the dinner table this evening, that's all you need to know about 3D printing and how it can affect rare diseases. Thanks very much.